Hello everybody, welcome back. We have another White Fox VOD today. This is Diamond? Diamond 2. I just need help figuring out all the things I did wrong this match and any habits I need to maybe Alright, let's go.
All you need to do is capture
Oh hey, they have the new the tail colors today. Look at that. Very nice. Just a quick check. I believe this is true console. Yesterday I said one was console and it was controller on PC. All right. So let's look at our team comp real quick. We have White Fox and Ultron. So we have just double support, and then we have Ultron, who is more of a utility support, so he's going to put out less healing. And then we have White Fox, who is also a utility support, but can put out a little more healing than Ultron, but is still kind of a not a main healer, right? So already we should be thinking about that and planning and being like, okay, I want to do damage if I can, but I need to help, right? So here we're doing some damage. We look to do some damage because our team is full health, which is great. However, we stay focused on this for so long that it's enough to get our Emma killed. Red team. Our Emma died here. So be careful with this. And the answer to this is generally positioning. If you can position yourself in a spot where you can keep an eye on both the enemy and your teammates, kind of keep them in a line, right? So if you're over here behind your tanks, you can see, okay, I can shoot my tanks, I can do a little damage over here, and the field of view is such that I can hit both of them if I need to, right? I can react. Whereas where you're standing right now, this, even with my like wide angle view because of the replay viewer, I still can't see the ammo over here. So keep an eye on your tanks, make sure they're in the correct line of sight. And then if you're playing like triple support and you have another main tank, then you can be a little more aggressive. I hope the tails are going to confuse people. Some people look at the tail and think that's an enemy. I want to see Jeff eat their teammates by accident. Yeah, you're right. They might. Okay, this is really dangerous. You're really lucky you're not getting punished here. You don't have a teleport, so you don't have an escape option. Unless you go into melee form, turn around, and use 2 dashes to get out. And even then, it's not great. And then you go in front of your tanks, right? So you're the first person that the enemy team sees. You have no escape route. A better team, a better mag is probably going to kill you for this, honestly. You'll have a mag here. You'll have a mag here. You'll have a, let's just say Phoenix. You just like die instantly. So be careful of this. Don't just face tank your support. Okay, they're Emma fed. Actually, don't mind these tails that you're using. And once again, if you see this is your Ultron beam. It's their heal beam. And then this is you. And so we have 2 healers focused over here and nobody focused over here. Be really careful. I like that we look back. Keep an eye on it. I'm not saying never do it. This is a really bad habit, though. Can't be doing this.
Sustained.
Okay.
Need assistance.
Well, like your TP is your get out of jail free card. It should be only used in very specific circumstances. You need to turn around and escape. You need to help a like a DPS on the flank or on an off angle. You can TP through walls. Like sometimes there will be a Phoenix like up here, and you can TP to them when they're half health, and then you keep healing them, and then they can keep this high ground and stuff like that. That's great. Where is your Phoenix? Or you can use it to kind of like block ults, get out of ults, escape routes, things like that. So just TPing to your tanks in the front is going to put yourself in danger because now you're closer to the enemy, and it's going to waste your cooldown, which is 12 seconds, and it's really just not going to accomplish anything. So let's stop that bad habit. They double support ult. Once again, we just lose sight of our tank. Yeah, this is the older one, not IQ's. So just to give you an idea of like what I was talking about at the very beginning, the enemy team has 2 supports, and one of their supports that has less healing, it has put out about as much or more than both of your guys' supports combined. Now, I'm not saying that's a bad thing in general, because like that can work just fine, but it does have its downsides, especially in lower elo. And so I'm sure like this Emma, the Emma on your team is having a miserable time. Like, so in order to get your healing numbers up as White Fox, you have to keep your uptime up, you have to have really good aim, and then you have to cycle your tails really effectively. Because the way her healing works is it bounces once. So there's 2 hits, right? So you throw it, it hits once, it bounces, it hits a second time. The first time it hits, it does 50 healing, and the second time it hits, it does like 35 healing. Okay, so if you hit the ground first, that first and 50 initial healing will go to nobody. And then the second bounce will go to whoever you're healing, and it will only heal him like 35. So you lose out on a ton of healing if you have bad aim with this character. I like how you've been using your tails. Like that, those are great because it heals everybody in front of you. It gives some invulnerability. It does little damage. It's fine. Just make sure that you do still have some tails left over. This is just not good. I think this is a great time to be doing damage. We have a big momentum swing. I think that's fine, but we can't W key right towards the enemy. Like if you look at this Emma's perspective, this Emma. If you look at this Emma's perspective, if this is me right now and I see a White Fox doing this, you're dead. You're just guaranteed dead. Emma's just going to beam you down. She's going to press E, and there's almost nothing you can do. I don't think this ult was really necessary. You guys already really had a huge advantage. Like before we ulted, let's just look at what's going on. We have 1, 2, 3, 4 versus, this is a 1v1. So we have 3 versus 3, 4. Why did this feel like such a huge advantage? Okay, you guys killed the rocket. So now this is a 3v3. Yeah, you guys do have a huge advantage, right? So in half a second, like if you just wait, you're going to have a 5v4 where you guys have both of your supports and they have none. You have still a better support and they have 1. And then already the Penny dies, right? So I don't think this was necessary. Could have saved it for the next fight. What's up, Boo? How's it going? Oh, gotcha. Oh, thank you, Churro. So this is another great example of like where we could actually be doing damage, right? So we throw 15 shots ish at the Phoenix. When the first shot fully healed them and they have bonus health. And all these other shots, like, they're just not really doing anything. Plus, we just used our ult. So being able to gain some ult charge, doing some damage will help. But remember to keep in mind, like, switching targets. Because we can't just, like, only focus on doing damage. Well, thanks for stopping by, Boo. Have fun at class. Good luck. Why did we look away? Why did we look away? Why did we look away? What?
It's spider time!
Pulse charge, fire!
Okay, I feel like we're just, we don't know what we should be looking at. That's the sense that I'm getting here.
It's spider time!
Pulse charge,
No, that was our Iron Man. Yeah, we're just really lost in the sauce. Okay. Yeah, this is, I think, a classic case of getting lost in the sauce and not being able to find your footing in a team fight. So how do we build up our knowledge base to where we're guided through the chaos, right? When there's all this chaos going on, if you try to take in everything that's going on, you're just going to get lost. We're going to be trying to do damage, trying to heal, trying to do damage, trying to escape. You know, there's way too much going on in a game like this. So you really need something to like ground you in a fight like this. And there's two things that I would keep in mind. The number one is your healing priority ladder, right? So if you haven't heard this before, your healing priority should go number one, keep your other support alive. Number one. Number two is a tie between, no. Number two is just a DPS. If there's a DPS on the flank or something else, they come first. Number three, who actually jumps above number two, would be a half-dead tank. Once a tank gets critical, they take more priority away from a DPS. So, and then last but not least, then you just heal a tank, right? Or you just heal people who are like full. And you spam damage and do stuff like that. So the way that works in practice is you're choosing who you're trying to save and who you let die, right? So if you have a choice between a DPS dying and a support dying, right? So your other support, if you're playing 2-2, and then the other DPS dying, you choose the DPS to die and you focus on making the support live. Now, why is it in this order specifically? It's ranked like this based on if somebody on your team dies, you want to minimize that impact. So if you're fighting a 5v5, right? One person has died on each team, and team A lost a support and team B lost a DPS. Team B has a huge advantage because team A only has one support, team B only has both, but only has one DPS. That's a huge advantage in terms of like who's going to win the full fight. If team A loses a DPS and team B loses a tank, once again, team A has advantage, right? So as support, you really need to make sure that we're healing the right people and focusing on the right situation. The other thing that comes into this, and the second part of it, is not priority, but threat levels, okay? So if you have a Phoenix and she's way off to the side and she's not taking damage, but she's half health, and then you have right down main, you have an Emma who is at like 75% health, but there's a Punisher ult or a Cloak and Dagger ult coming at her, or a Penny, not Penny, but, you know, a an enemy ult or they're fighting like, 3v5, you want to help the Emma because the Emma has a greater chance of actually dying versus the Phoenix, who's not taking damage, who's maybe has less health, but they're not under direct threat, right? So when you combine those two things, that can really guide you through a team fight like this. So now that we've gone out and like specifically said about this, right? Let's see how this works in practice. So right here, it's fine. I'd like us to be doing damage, but at least we're keeping everybody in sight. Now we have our Emma out here. She's already using diamond form, so she's very risky, right? Likely to die. And we have a Penny here, so this is neutral. So I would try to do some damage to the Penny and try to help our Emma here. As we watch it develop, we're doing damage. Oh, maybe we get the kill. Okay, Penny dies. Now I can just focus on this Emma. All right, now our Reed is low, so I'm going to do some healing to him, help him out. Hopefully he doesn't die. Okay, he did die. He took too much damage. Now I'm going to still help here. Okay, now they have a Penny. So the Penny got rezzed, and they're ulting, so they're going to have a bunch of mines coming through here, and they're going to have a bunch of pressure. So I'm hoping we're going to back out. And in order for my Emma to back out, she needs some support. So I'm going to try to sit here and like scoot over to the side, try to keep myself safe. Okay, now that the Emma is over here, and there's a mag ult especially, this would probably be a pretty good teleport. And so I'd be backing up to here and thinking like, okay, I could have teleported and actually saved this Emma, because when you teleport, it pops the shield around him. And I know when you teleport the shield, you can see a little example right here. The shield looks like it stops about here. It actually goes like up to here, right? So when you look at the shield, it's a lot taller there. Was teleporting into Penny safe? Yeah, because the Penny had just spawned, so there wasn't time to build up the mines. Since it's in ult, I think it would have been fine. Shield should be more defined. Yeah, for real. But yeah, that could have kept your Emma alive. We probably could have saved Reed here as well. And then now we're trying to back out, right? So these people already died, so now I'm thinking like, okay, if I have to choose between these two people, I have to save Ultron, and hopefully his drone is here. Okay. We didn't save Ultron, now he dies, and now you can see like how your target priority each time can completely change what you do in a fight and how the fight goes. Okay, now we should be out, right?
The hunt resumes. You belong to me.
Now you just have to touch point. I like that you have an eye on objective. That's pretty good. Is this the right play? I mean, it's your only option, so what can you do? I believe this is Diamond, Exodian. How's it going? Now has our comp changed? Yes. So now we have an invis, so we have a main support. And then we have a much more standard lineup. So we can do a little more damage, but not by much. Also, now we have 2 divers, so I'd like to enable them as if I can. So a cool thing you can do as a support is manage your line of sight. If you're unfamiliar with a line of sight, it's basically just what you can see, right? If you've played any top-down games, this will be a good way of like visualizing what it actually looks like. So right now you're standing here, right? And your line of sight, usually it's about this much, right? So you should be able to see all of this, but we have a wall here, right? So this blocks off all of this line of sight. So instead of seeing everything from here all the way over, right? Now we only see this area. This is, we'll use green. This is our actual line of sight, right? and it stops here. Goes to about here, right? So everything in the green triangle we can see and we can heal. Everything over here we cannot see. This is no-go, right? We can't see. And so, how do we use that to our advantage and understanding? When you see a tank like Hulk, and they jump, right, here he goes. He's gonna jump. Give us a second. Right here. So here goes the Hulk. See how he jumped to the side and now he's out of your line of sight? You did this earlier. All you have to do is just step to the side just a little bit. And then you adjust your field of view. And as you do this, you always want to be standing near walls. But yeah. Yeah, bad habit. Bad habit. Can't be doing that. That just got yourself killed. Okay, so I'm actually going to write some stuff down. Just so we can have a nice, concise thing at the end. I really need to find some type of, like, notepad that I can bring up on screen to, like... So... and then... Sorry, hang with me here, just so I can... Is there just a notepad app? Yeah, I probably should. There we go. All right, at least now I can remember and show you at the end.
What am I?
Oh,
Invisible?
there's another thing to write down.
My
Damage sustained. Need assistance. My spirit steadies. Feeling stronger already.
Hey, that's a pretty good TP. I don't mind that TP. Unfortunately, it's into 2 enemy ults, and that happens sometimes.
Keep captured within half to mission area. Keep going. Us against the world.
Yes, yes it did, Jake. I saw that too. I don't mind this ult. Kind of have to at this point, right? All right, so when you're getting attacked by like a flanker or diver or something like this, like a Psylocke, your first instinct shouldn't be to teleport away or anything. It should actually be to charm them. White Fox is actually really hard to 1v1 against. Like if I'm playing Hulk, if I'm playing Psylocke, if I'm playing like, I don't know, Captain America, it's actually a really hard target. So what good White Foxes will do is they'll look at this, they'll charm them, they'll start doing damage, and get them to run away. They'll shoo away the fly, right? If they stick around, then they can jump into melee form and actually do some damage, save themselves, and like maybe even kill the oppressor, then go back to healing, right? But we can't just ignore it. Gotta shoo them away like a fly. I can absorb any projectile except for the giant ball of metal.
I'm back.
All right, so the last thing that I want to go over is just some ways to learn. So if we go over again, we reiterate some of the things we were talking about. So we talked about line of sight, we talked about healing priority, we talked about danger levels, And we talked about some bad habits, right? We don't want to telly in. We want to make sure we're hitting our first shot because of how it bounces. There are, specific matchup things, how we want to use charm, how we want to stand, positioning, all that stuff. Make sure we're standing near walls. We didn't really use too much cover. So that is a lot, right? That is a lot of things we can work on. Now, how do we go about learning each one of them? Right? So I split it between micro and macro concepts. So macro concepts is top down everything. Micro concepts is how each of your individual abilities work, right? How these little scenarios work, right? So for example, a micro situation, we can use our teleport to cancel out a mag ult, right? Because we teleport to the person and then it pops up the shield around them. The mag ult hits there. That's a micro situation. So how do we learn the difference? So for macro habits, most of what you need to learn is just understanding the big picture. Seeing how, if I look away from my tank for too long, that actually gets them killed. Or if I'm looking at my tank for too long, that might get my other support killed, right? So seeing the big picture of everybody else around you, most of that stuff gets through watching videos, VOD reviewing, looking at the whole big picture as a whole instead of just through our point of view, understanding the flow of the game, who has advantage and disadvantage, and a lot of that comes from feel of the game and stuff like that, right? Working on micro though, you have to be very specific about what you're trying to learn. And so when you're learning micro, what I would do is I would get like a sticky note, right? You just get a sticky note and I would write down all the micro things, every single thing that like we pointed out that you can work on. Something that I recommend for most people whenever they're learning a new character is you take one ability, right? So for example, let's just take our right click, the tail, spectral source, this one, the charm tail. You take that and you press F1 and you read the whole ability, right? And then you think of all the different ways it can possibly be used. And then I want you to play like 3 to 5 quick play games where you don't think about anything else except for the best way to possibly use charm. And you're like, and then you experiment with it on everything, right? So then like, if I charm while the mag ult is going off, it doesn't do anything because the mag ult sucks it up. And then you add that to the list of things in your head and you build the experience. And you go through one at a time, one ability at a time, and you figure out, what can this ability do? Am I using it too much? Am I using it not enough? What situation is the best to use it in, right? If you do all of that one at a time, and then you move to each one. So you start with the right click, then you do the shift, then you use melee form, then you use the dash, stuff like that. That is how you, by yourself, build up. That's how you build up the micro knowledge to get to the point where you can then put it together with the macro. So that's just a general blueprint for how to learn in games. And how to not get overwhelmed, because like I said, like this is a lot of stuff that we went over, and if you try to implement it all at the same time, it's going to be way too much. So the big things I would focus on is really focusing on your healing priority. Number 1, 2, 3, and how to shift through those while also thinking about the danger levels, who's actually in danger, right? So that is going to be your guide. And then what Churro is saying, you're concerned about teleport use cases, how to enable versus overextending and catching yourself out and dying. That is not a simple enough answer unless you know all the things before it, right? So if you're guided by the macro big picture that we talked about earlier, then it's pretty easy to figure out what use cases you have, right? Because remember that example we used earlier. We have a Phoenix that's off by herself, but not taking damage and behind walls. And then we have an Emma right in front. Who is the healing priority? Well, the Emma, because she's taking damage from a bunch of other people, right? Should you teleport to her? I would say no, because that's going to put you in danger. It definitely can. I just don't think our game sense is up enough yet to really recommend doing that. I would rather play a little more safe and go through building our game sense up. In order to get what Churro is talking about, in order to get to that point, we have to take the macro big picture and understand which team has an advantage, which team has a disadvantage, and can our abilities change that outcome, right?
Close.
If the enemy team has a slight advantage, but you see, because of your experience, that, hey, this person's low, we have a Daredevil in the back line, I can actually teleport in, swap to my melee form, get a pick real quick, and then now all of a sudden we turned the enemy team's slight advantage into a huge advantage for our team. In order to make a play and a decision like that, there's just a lot that goes into it. And so I would take it slow, focus on aiming,
The fox claims its due.
making sure it's actually safe to leave your other support alone. Right, because, yeah, definitely. You need to get picks as White Fox, get value in your ducks in a row before that. Yeah. So, like, taking that into account, if I know I have a Daredevil in the enemy backline and one of their, like, DPS is low, I can help secure that kill. However, I have an Ultron in my backline, and then I have 2 tanks that are taking a lot of damage. So that completely changes the calculation. So you have to be able to take, like, all of that into account in order to get to that point. So if you want to get better at your aim, I always recommend this. So I go here. These are the parameters I use. Unislow, Luna Snow, random, short range. Make sure to check this. I don't do advanced combat for most people. I would do random because with advanced combat, Luna will freeze you over and over and it can get kind of annoying. Random, super fast. If you do this like 5 minutes before every time that you start a ranked session,
4, 3,
this will help you over time so much. You just follow the Luna and you just focus on following one Luna at a time. And then you get used to it. And then I would also recommend you swap out the distances. So start back here and do like a whole 2 minutes back here. And see, like, I haven't practiced with White Fox at all. So like her aim is all off of me. So I would do this for a while and then do another one that's like super up close where you're fighting around like this. Like if you do this once a day, every day, it will slowly build it up and you'll just get so much better. And you'll see so many improvements in terms of your healing numbers and everything like that. So yeah, take it slow, learn all of the pieces in a row, like one thing at a time. Really focus on like playing 3 or 4 quick play games, only looking at one ability or one concept or one thing like that before you move to the next and then add it all together.
Close.
So anyway, that's it for this VOD review. Thank you so much for submitting it. Thanks for watching. Take care. God bless. Catch you guys next time. Bye.